First up, something that's just sickens you to the core. I can't even sort of put it into words, but it's a situation that you may have seen on the TV news last night. It's about the very sad passing last week of a young man, 19 years of age, called Levi Tracy, who fought like hell to beat cancer. Tragically, it got him in the end. But it's what's happened since his passing, where you know about lowlifes that will take advantage of situations. We all know that. But to think that there are people out there that are trying to take advantage of his passing by trying to cash in with a scam around fundraising in his name. The father of Levi is, of course, dealing with the grief and then trying to deal with this situation. And Mark Tracy joins me on the line. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how you going?
Okay, mate.
Gary?
Look, thank you very much for your time. I know that this is difficult, but I think from our point of view here at 6PR, I think the important thing is that we make sure that no one falls for this. What is the situation at the moment with what these scammers have been trying to do? Can you give us some detail?
Yeah, what they've done is they've tried to copy or mimic and closely, associate the pages that they've set up to look and feel like the original page that we had, that we were posting information about my son's journey on. And they've gone a step further than that. They've titled it Donations Only, which is not what the page was about for us. And then they've also personally reached out to a number of people on our friends and families network and asked them for a donation, which again is not something that we did.
Is that how you come to know about it?
Yeah, someone gave it. Our original page was set up by a very good friend of ours, and Deb, and someone contacted Deb asking, was this other page her or was it us? And so she forwarded it to us. She said it wasn't me. I'll check with Mark and Nikki, and so she sent it to us, and I said no, it's definitely not us, 100% not us. And then we had a couple of people contact my wife directly, questioning us, about our integrity. Why have we got two pages? Why are we asking directly? And it was none of that. We worked through that, and those people are now, comfortable with where things at with us. But he passed on Tuesday. This started from Wednesday, so it's been a rough week.
Can I ask you whether there's been any breakthrough in trying to? Have you shut down these scammers or not? Are police aware? Have you tried?
It has been reported through the Facebook mechanism, as is the way, and Meta, who runs Facebook, has multiple people, nearly everyone who's been made aware has reported it, and they just come back saying it doesn't breach their community standards, so they're not shutting it down. They're not removing the page.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, that's the response that we've had sent back, and I do think it's somewhat of an automated response that they send through. They have an algorithm that looks at these things, I'm guessing, and it's an automated response. But there's no, doesn't seem to be any course of recourse through them. We have reported it to the police online. We now have to in person talk to Crime Stoppers and go through all this stuff again. Which we're
I can imagine
putting the final. Yeah, it's. When you're constantly talking about the same subject matter, and we're just trying to process the week and grieve and plan a funeral, it's tough. It's really tough.
So, what can you say to people who are listening to make sure they don't fall for this? I mean, what do they need to look out for? Mark,
look,
it's fake.
Yeah, our page, the one that's in question, was called Lifeline for Levi. Now, the fake pages, one is .lifeline for Levi. There's a dot at the start of it. Another one is lifeline .for .Levi, and one of them says donations only at the end of it, so there are differences, but they have captured pictures from our pages and put it on there so it looks all legit. But the fundamental difference people need to understand is when the page was set up, Deb put a notification out that if people wished, that's how they could help us if they were unable to help us through our journey any other way. We've never asked, Deb never asked, she just notified people the page was there, donate if you wish. this page is at times reaching out to people directly and asking for donations, and that is the fundamental difference people need to understand. We're really appreciative of the support we've had, but we've never reached out and asked people.
So the point is that the people who are behind this may well not even be in Australia. Is that a reality?
That's correct. My wife was communicating with one of them yesterday because they reached out to her and asked her to join the page and donate. And so she asked them who was running the page, and there was conversations on there, and they said that a family member had paid them to do nasty things, and the conversation kept getting heavier and nastier, and eventually they asked for $12,000 to make it stop. And they requested that figure twice through the conversation. And screenshots have been taken. It's, we're putting it in the hands of the authorities now, but this is the sort of people you're talking about. And you can tell from their English when they type their text that they're not from Australia or not in Australia, they're foreign. He even threatened to come around and sort us out. And I invited him to do so. I was happy to talk to him at my front door.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And that.
All right. So you do have a situation where there's been a point of contact. I mean, it might not be easy to trace, but it does sound like, Mark, that this is should be a very pressing matter for WA police and their online sort of fraud situation. Is it fraud? I mean, what they're doing is fraud.
Essentially, yeah, it is. And what we would like to think that they'd take it seriously and as a reasonable priority. But we were initially told by them there was an online reporting mechanism for them, so that's what we did. Then we got a communication back from them, via a phone call saying we have to report it to Crime Stoppers directly.
Right.
So then my wife did that via the phone,
yeah.
and now I think we're waiting to talk to them in person.
All right. Well, mate, I mean, look, all I'll say is we might raise it with WA Police as well, because I'm sure that there's something that they could do as a matter of urgency to try and shut this thing down. If Meta don't listen to you as the family of Levi, then maybe they'll listen to the authorities telling them to shut it down pronto.
Yeah, I mean, we were aware of 3 pages, 2 of which we know were linked and were run by the same people. The third one we're not sure if it's linked, but one appears to be either blocked or maybe shut down, but the other 2 are still very, very active.
All right. Now, we've got a contact here with our radio program. He runs an organisation called Safe Online Space. His name's Paul Litherland. He is an ex-police officer who worked in this very area, so he's obviously heard what we're talking about. He's going to try and get into contact with you. We'll help you with that, and he's going to go through the process of what you need to do, mate, if that helps.
Thank you so much, Gary. Appreciate it.
We will do that. Now, look, it would be remiss of me. We've talked about this because it's a disgraceful situation that's unfolding. But, I mean, just for people that, don't know the story of Levi, I mean, just in terms of his battle and what he tried to do, how should we remember him?
Oh, he was a beautiful boy. He lit up a room when he walked in with his smile. He loved people. He cared for people, genuinely cared for people. He didn't like to do sadness or people being down. He just wanted people to be happy. And he fought several battles across a 12-year period, starting when he was 7, 2.5 years of chemo. He beat that one. That chemo caused the leukemia to return at 17. At 17, he had a stem cell transplant. A lot of hard months in hospital. We almost lost him a couple of times there. He got out of that, began to rebuild his strength, and started his career that he wanted, which was a diesel mechanic apprenticeship. And 364 days after his transplant, he started that job, and he went off FIFO, and he was living life at 100 miles an hour because he'd spent so much time in hospitals and restricted. And then in March of this year, he relapsed. The transplant ultimately failed, and we had to go through the whole process again. And this time, he unfortunately contracted an infection in his chest, a bacterial infection that's relatively uncommon and very, very difficult to treat. That then created pneumonia. He got sepsis in his blood, and his organs, who had already copped damage from all the treatment over the years, began to struggle. And ultimately, his body couldn't cope any further. But he fought on his terms all the way to the end. He put in a massive effort. The medical team wanted to put him on life support he refused. He wanted to fight under his own steam, so he pushed for 3 days longer before he asked for life support because he didn't want us burdened with that decision, and he didn't want them to do it. He wanted to own the decision, and that's what he did. And when he got onto life support, he was, we were sort of indicated to be 3 to 5 days, and he went almost 7 days. He fought for before he was eventually beaten.
Yeah, extraordinary young guy, and deserves much better than to have his memory being abused in the way that it is. So let's hopefully try and stop that to start with, and let you guys get on with doing what you've got to do, and that's grieve.
Yeah, and we're trying. We've got his funeral on Friday, so we've got to work through that, and then we can begin to try to heal and move forward. But the lasting legacy that Levi wanted was the awareness around the need for blood products and potentially organ donation, such as stem cell donation, because without the support of the blood products over the journey or the stem cell donations, we would have lost him much earlier, and he understood that, and
when
he was having...
When you're ready to sort of come on perhaps in the studio and talk about that and what that legacy should look like and what people can do to help, you are more than welcome to come in and use this station to push it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, mate. Take care, Mark Tracy. It's just frightening, isn't it, that you're trying to get the message out there about your kid. Someone overseas can do that. Yeah, if the police are listening in, and I know Paul Litherland has contacts in the WA police, then let's shut the bastards down, shall we? 9:20. All right, yeah, sorry about that, folks. Sometimes it just gets to you a bit when you're listening to real people telling you that that someone wants to exploit the death of their child. It just does. And I think we should be doing a bit more about it in this situation now. Paul Litherland is from Surf Online Safe. He's a former WA police officer as well. And I said that he was listening to that, and he obviously would like to help the Tracy family out as best he can. He joins me on the line. G'day, Paul.
Hey, buddy. And this is what we forget sometimes. We all these big tech companies and these big giants just go whatever. We don't realise how hard it does hit people. And you've got the head of safety at Meta coming out and saying, social media doesn't harm people.
Mm.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and,
right.
And in this case, a response that told them that that this fake website doesn't breach their community standards. I mean, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the issue. They're just voiceless giants. So it's frustrating from the police's perspective. They sort of handballed him to the Crime Stoppers, and I get that. A lot of coppers behind the counter don't really know much about the online world, but I'd be walking into his local police station today with the paperwork, with the screenshots, say, no, don't handball me. This is what I want. They can take a report over the counter. I'd also get him to report online to eSafety, esafety.gov.au. They'll help report when he makes. They'll help him remove when he gets that report number. Gary, get him to send it to me. I've given you my email.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send a rocket to my contacts as well. And it's brutal as these stories are, mate. And the emotion it draws out of them. This is the stuff I want to bring to the attention of our governments and our organisations. Say this is what we don't see. This is the pain people are going through that's caused by these mongrels online and the ease of creation of social media accounts to do it. And I feel for his family terribly.
I mean, the reality is, Paul, that if the father alerts and gives enough evidence to Facebook Meta, then it's a no-brainer, isn't it? It just gets at least removed. Surely.
Well, you'd think so, but mate, I go back now 14 years or 10 years. The reason I left the WA Police was because of these exact reasons. I was contacting organisations like Facebook and Instagram and say, please give me evidence to support an investigation. And this is the juxtapositional issue is they'll go, we're not going to give you evidence until you charge someone. Well, hold on, I can't charge someone until I get evidence.
Yeah.
So their defence is always too bad, so sad, and this is where I've said it on your show so many times. You don't realise how poorly you are protected online until something like this happens, and again, this is another another story I can promote, and you don't want to promote these sort of things because this family's going through grief,
Yep.
but to be a voice to go, this is the pain that we're seeing, this is the harm that we see, and what are social networking organisations doing about it? Someone to be able to, you can walk into Bunnings tomorrow and make a complaint. Someone will listen to you if you've had something go wrong at Bunnings, but this poor family, this poor gentleman can't ring Facebook and go, please help. That needs to change.
Can I ask you, I mean, given that they were having some kind of online communication with the people behind this who were then, as you heard, saying, well, if you give us 12 grand, we'll make this go away. Does that give police, you know, I know that they might be overseas, but does that give police some sort of leverage in terms of trying to get to these people if they are prepared to communicate like that online?
Yeah, they probably would. I mean, they'd be able to identify an IP address at least, or at least a communication network. But however, most of these organisations sadly are hiding behind VPNs or encryption services that make it very, very difficult and take time. And if there's sort of one-offs here and there, unfortunately, the investigative side of things, it does take a lot of resources. So unless there's, and that's what happened at Tech Crime with us as well, is Paul, if there's 100 people, yep, no worries, we might be able to look at it. But these one-offs, we just can't do it. But my argument was, but boss, these one-offs turn out to be 100 cases over time. But it's just about continuing to gather evidence and hopefully present it to police and get listened to. But eSafety will at least hopefully help remove the account. I'll help them do that as well. And this is another story I can help share as well when I get into governments and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Say, look, this is the stuff we need to address.
Well,
Because
mate,
people are going through hell.
I mean, I think it kind of got to me a bit because it's sort of, as a dad, you put yourself in that situation and you think, you know what you'd want to do, but you know you're powerless to do it because of the situation of, them being overseas, the people behind it most likely. And it's just that, like you heard him say, he's trying to plan for a funeral, for God's sake. So you know what you want to do, but you know that they've got you because of the tyranny of distance and the difficulties in investigating it and perhaps the will to get out there and go after people like this.
Yeah. And that's the frustration. This is where we have those you want to scream, you want to cry, and the fact is this family is going through grief already. Compounds that, and this is where sadly a lot of these scammers do that. I mean, we've had scamming raids where we've found offenders who've got bereavement notices. They've got newspapers around the world, so they're ringing people who've lost people, and that's the most heartbreaking thing about it is this poor family are dealing with grief, and now they have to compound that by dealing with an issue where they just want to put their kid to rest, and that's the most heartbreaking. It's gutless. But that's what they do, and this is where we have to continue to shout out to these organisations to say you're providing a conduit, but you're not listening to ignore these poor families. It's a joke.
No, an organisation like Facebook should have its own internal police force that kind of deals with these kind of moments in a matter of urgency. Mate, I appreciate you coming through to us, and look, we will hook you up with the family. I think they were, Mark, just listening to him, was grateful of the approach that you've made. Maybe you can walk him through it as best as possible, and that will be at least some help to them in the lead up to what they've got this week. So I appreciate you coming through.
Thanks, buddy. Talk soon. Thanks, mate.
Paul Litherland there from Surf Online Safe. One of those. It's 9:30. Back with